Yeah, Halloween. We have 3 days until Halloween Day, which is marked from the day that we were recording this on the 28th. Heh, get it? 28th. Our beloved number of sorts.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize it. Is that why you picked today to record this?
Actually, it's not, but it is, and also yes, because according to our messages, you said that you were more like free to record, in the early evenings on Mondays and Tuesdays, as opposed to Wednesdays through Fridays, where I think you start working later. So,
Yeah, I work
Monday,
later towards the end of the week.
Mondays and Tuesdays are more likely to work out for Mega here.
Okay,
So.
that's even funnier here, though. For those of you who don't know, our co-commentaries, they frequently end up being, or at least it's happened twice. It's weird that it happened twice, right? But it's usually part 28 where I've guested with him, because I think it happened in Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Is that right?
Yeah, twice, literally twice in a row. Yeah, it is, as if you couldn't tell, we also did another gauntlet, which was the Lanayru Boss Rush, which ended up being episode 41 as opposed to 28. 10 months. Yeah, the longest Zelda LP I've ever done thus far. I'm not saying that there might not be a longer one, because I'm sure people love that stuff, whoever ends up watching. But yeah, 28. Ever since Cave of Ordeals came about almost a few years ago, it's just been nothing but our beloved episode number. We didn't really care about it since then, but ever since we did it again in Savage Labyrinth, we just kind of laugh at it in a way.
Yeah, I think you were the one to notice it too.
Yeah. All right. So we're back. This episode is really long. It's really long overdue, because it was mainly meant to be re-recorded in a way, because I did spot some things in the rough recording which I kind of just wanted to replace on its own. I'm not ashamed to admit there are some little mess ups here and there, but that's okay, because there's not too much I want to replace. But we have some unfinished business here on Halloween's Eve, or Halloween Eve. As I meant to say.
There you go.
Anyway,
All Hallows Eve.
All Hallows Eve, which is funny enough, because that was the name of the episode where my cousin Chris did Slender the 8 Pages. Yeah, almost like over a decade ago. That was episode 1, I believe. Episode 1 of Slender the 8 Pages. That is an old game that I played, that I reacted to in a stream that I, reacted to, just flat out old content that I did, where I just kind of sat back and laughed at, my funny fails, and, I'm not going to call myself cringe, but cringiness that I, was in my little baby heady days of Little Sa. But
we've all been there.
As I aged, as I got older, as I became a little bit more mature, as I feel my goatee with my hand, I'm joking. So yeah, Halloween plans. I'm gonna go ahead and take the floor first on this one, since I kind of talked about it off screen before we pressed record. So, okay, Halloween plans. I'm not gonna do much. So, Mega here has said that he carved pumpkins, but I'll let him elaborate on his plans after I kind of say mine. I'm not gonna do much. Yeah, call me boring pretty much if you want. But no. As the holiday seasons go by, we kind of make fun of films. Yeah, Christmas films, Thanksgiving films, 4th of July films, Halloween films, you name it. Riffing is the word to use on some movies that I like to watch in this special holiday season. Spooky season. So, there's actually a film called Spooky House with the great Zamboni, and Max and his friends are getting bullied around by these little bicycle gang kids, and there's a magic wand that is present in the film, and it belonged to the great Houdini, and it gets stolen. At the end, they are, destined to find it again, and the great Zamboni and his great, lovely cat, Shadow. Not a reference to Shadow the Hedgehog or anything, but
The ultimate life form.
yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, Shadow, like, I guess if you want to pardon my French, it's 2025. I guess Shadow always knew where that damn fourth Chaos Emerald was. Yeah. Anywho, so riffing is the word that we use for finding flaws in movies that come about, and each year, I guess if you want to rewatch it, find more flaws if you like. But no, that's actually one of my favorite Halloween films. There's not much wrong with it. The Great Zamboni is really disliking towards Max in the movie. He's a little boy, and he's very courageous in a way, and he likes him more and more. That especially comes after the fact that he saves Shadow from the sofa because her tail was stuck in it. And he's like, yeah, I just made a big mistake by kicking these kids out of my house. They're actually not half bad at all. Anywho, my next plan, I actually was going to stream it, but I discovered that my bandwidth was terrible. Not for long because I do plan to move. I've been talking this to death for ages. I actually ended up re-downloading Slender the 8 Pages just to see if I could top my puny 1-page victory in 2012. And I did. It's not a recording, but I did. I actually figured out that I'm not terrible at the game. I'm not bragging, but all I'm going to say is that those who replay the game this Halloween, or want to play it with the lights off, I've, over the ages, have gained the courage to do so. Definitely get the bathroom first, because I really doubt that you want to go in there when you have like 5 pages, because he will be on your butt. Slendy Man will be on your butt, because he apparently does not like when you steal his pages. He hates it. So yeah, get the lone tree first, or like the big tall like spooky oak tree, whatever you want to call it. Go there first. Then I would kind of go north of that, which I think is where the trucks are. Yeah, and ideally, when you replay Slender over and over again, pages are not in the same spot every time. So that's one genius thing that Parsec Productions did right, which was make the game challenging. So if you ever want to scare yourself and just torture yourself and get scared on most things, that's the game for you. If you want to take it further, Slender Mansion and Hospice is an even better game for you. I have not played them, but what I do know is that there's 12 mementos that you need to break the coma, and that's just how the game works. But yeah, I didn't carve pumpkins, but hey, I might change my mind in 48 hours. Who knows?
There's still time.
There is still time. I know I've kind of like taped Mega's mouth shut in a way by talking about my dreaded Halloween plans. But what you got going on?
So kind of like yourself, I don't have any specific plans for Halloween the day. I've done a lot of very festive and spooky things throughout the month here. I usually try to watch like a new Halloween or horror themed movie each year, just because like I've been trying to like dip my toe a little bit into that genre. I haven't seen anything new this year, but I did rewatch some classics like Monster House the other weekend. And I also watched Over the Garden Wall, which I have seen before, but it's been a while since I've revisited it. If you haven't checked it out, it's a super great Cartoon Network miniseries that went on for, I believe, 10 episodes. You can watch the whole thing in about 2 hours, so if you're looking for something quick to see, it's not a bad watch.
But Mega, calm down.
That's me.
You're making me want to throw up in some tinfoil and eat it. I'm joking.
Reginald Skolinski. We call him Skull.
But he's in the game zone, and you don't want to mess with him when he's in the game zone.
Exactly. I knew you'd get a kick out of Monster Hunter. Or not Monster Hunter, Monster House. Because we've referenced that before.
Yeah, and that is not a dreaded reference to the beloved and like NES game, Monster House. That's actually I'm not gonna lie, for a 2D, like 2-dimensional game on the NES, which I think they're all dimensional, some are RPGs, like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but Monster House is actually the most terrifying NES game that I've played.
I haven't
Weirdly.
seen that one. I might have to look into it.
Yeah, I'm probably getting the name wrong. I'll probably like annotate it here if I do. I probably won't because I'm pretty sure that's the name. But most challenging NES game that I've played right there. It's not as bad as Ghosts and Goblins that I've watched a lot. But in terms of my experience, that was an all-time high in its challenge. So if you're a retro gamer out there and you're just wanting to get into some retro Halloween challenge stuff, Monster House is the game for you.
So yeah, other Halloween related things. Yeah, like I said, I did carve pumpkins. Last year, I was the first time I'd carved jack-o'-lanterns in years. Last year I had carved the Scarecrow's logo from the Batman Arkham series just because that was begging to be a jack-o'-lantern. And this year I had actually carved the Luna Ghost's face from the first live-action Scooby-Doo movie. So that one was really cool.
Oh wow!
Unfortunately, it rotted away in like less than a week, and my nephew's was still going on. I think his is still good. But at least I got some pictures of it, which was nice. One of the biggest things I actually got to do, I was invited by a very good friend of mine to go to a Ren fair for the first time. I'd never been to one. And I actually went to the Pennsylvania Ren fair. And the 2 weekends we were looking at were either going to be Halloween themed, which we ended up not doing that one, or Time Travelers theme. So I got to see a lot of fun costumes of various time travelers, and even like some other cosplays that were kind of stretching the time travelers definition a little bit, but everybody was still having a good time. I may or may not have been Marty McFly that weekend.
You haven't seen my beard at all, but I actually plan to. I'm not going anywhere. To like trick or treating. I would never in this day and age. Not saying that's a bad idea, but still. I'm gonna try and dress up as my boy Leonard Nimoy, or other known as Spock from Star Trek.
The most logical one.
Yeah, and there's two iterations of him where he's evil and just a nice guy. He has a goatee when he's evil, and that's when his demeanor becomes much more hostile. Because he, in a way, does not like Kirk very much. But when he's in his good days, he and Kirk get along very well. Funnily enough.
I wonder if that's the first iteration of like the trope of like the evil character has a goatee, or like the evil version of a character has a goatee.
Much like Mega's NPG, like PNG here, which has a mustache, but that's not saying much.
Hey, I will not stand for that slander. I may also have to update that someday because I don't think I'm going to necessarily keep it because I don't actually have facial hair of my own. Whenever I created the Mega persona and made a me for it, I think I just justified it at the time like facial hair is very disguising, and I just didn't change it.
Yeah, it's also itchy. For those out there who are, like buffs on, I'm not like a really, big buff on facial hair. Like I'm probably like getting way ahead of myself, but my cheeks are kind of thin. They're not as like thick as I'd like them to be. I'm sure if I just let them grow for like 4 months, I'm sure they can cover right up. But I usually clean shave my cheeks and just leave my goatee alone because I think that's where most of guys' facial hair just begins. They start off with a crappy mustache and then like some chin hair, but that fills in like quick because that's where they start shaving first. And as you shave, that starts to fill in thicker, faster, and fuller and longer. Boys, ladies.
I had actually grown out a goatee a couple years ago to be Shaggy for Halloween.
Shaggy for it. Well, the question is, will your not saying that you said that you don't have facial hair of your own. Will your, let's say if you do have like some chinny chin hair, will it be as good as Matthew Lillard's from Scooby-Doo?
Oh no, nothing can top Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, with him being like 6'5" or whatever, like he's tall as God knows what. He's genetically gifted, I'm sure. But I don't know. There's what I like about this new millennium of Halloween is that there's like so much more to dress up as now because I think the older generation is starting to realize how comical and iconic that most film members were, like Shaggy, Spock, and whoever else we covered. Uh, yeah,
Pop
feel free to
culture
play around with
continues
it.
to grow and grow. But yeah, I guess like the last things that I've done, I went to a Halloween party slash movie screening that my sister had hosted for my nephew. So it was like him and I think 10 of his friends, and he's 8. So unfortunately, the movie screening kind of fell apart because with that many kids together in the same place, they're probably not going to want to focus. Like they had like Ghostbusters on their front porch on a projector screen, but yeah, I think they were done by about 15 or 20 minutes in.
It's the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man.
Okay, Ray has gone. Bye bye, Egon. What have you got left?
Nothing.
Another activity that I actually did with my nephew was we played this AR board game where like you would use either like your phone or like other smart device and download this app. It was called Finders Creepers, which kind of reminded me of Clue, where you're moving around like different rooms of a haunted mansion, and you have to use your phone or whatever to scan each of the rooms and try to find out what specific monster is in each room. But on top of that, you also had to collect like certain pieces of gear in order to be able to capture them. And then once you have all 3 of them for like, and they're like specific to each monster. And then once you find them, you have to go to the room where you think yours is at, and then tap on the phone, hey, I think this creature is in this room. And then it'll tell you if you're right or wrong. It was pretty intuitive, and apparently there is a way to play it without a smart device, but I wasn't patient enough to read the instructions to find out. But that was really something.
All right. I was gonna say that that AR probably stood for accelerated reading, which is kind of what I had in school. I'm not ashamed to admit I was a terrible student when I was like 12 because I hated reading.
No,
yeah.
AR actually has an augmented reality. So think like Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Where it's like the graphics superimposed onto real life. So you had to like actually scan the game board. And then it would place each of the monsters into the different rooms.
I absolutely trust you on that because I have not played Finders Creepers before. So yeah, I'm gonna turn this into Pawn Stars. If I ever have somebody like wanting to sell me a Finders Creepers book, game. Let's just say that it becomes ancient. I'm gonna call you in as an expert.
Okay. I'll take you up on that. And the last thing I did was kind of like a more niche activity, I guess. So there's a guy who lives pretty locally who's like a town historian, and he's also like the lead of like the paranormal investigation club in the area. And what he does every year is like for like a certain cause. I think last year it was for a local cemetery. I don't remember what it was this year, but he essentially gives tours of the town of haunted locations, and he has like ghost stories to tell about each location. And what's cool is he actually like does the research. Like he can actually point to a specific document, a newspaper article, like just like something historical that says, hey, this person has an association with this location, and there's a good chance that it's probably their ghost haunting it. So I thought that was really cool. Well, like, it's a very local thing. But if any of you live in towns that have like haunted walks, like it is like get involved in it because it is a really cool thing. And like you may even like learn something about like where you live.
Yeah, we had also some escape rooms that I sadly did not attend because I
would love to do an escape room.
They ended up being too far away from me, and it was in like wee hours of the night, so I just decided for myself that it just wasn't going to work. But there is actually a trick-or-trunk going by at a high school just a few miles from me. Yeah. That's probably like saying, no, no, little son, that is for the younger people. I'm not even gonna joke. Like, not even gonna joke around. I am not one to show up at a trick or trunk. If you don't know what that is, it's when a bunch of cars are like parked and they have their trunks open and they have like they just decorate their trunks and they basically you just walk around in your costume and collect candy, just like you would any other house, but except it's
Yeah.
cars.
Basically, kind of condensing the trick or treat experience into a smaller location. Yep, it was more than I expected to do this year. It's definitely a far cry from 2020, where all I did was play Luigi's Mansion 3, Halloween in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and the Splatfest Trick versus Treat in Splatoon 2. So at least I had more going for me this year.
Yeah, Splatoon has, in my opinion, a killer soundtrack. I think anybody would agree. There's actually a vinyl of it somewhere that came from Europe. I think I found that that it came about in one of Steven Plays or Steven Vlogs videos where Chucka Conroy and Mal were opening up gifts, and that was Steven's gift to Emil. Uh,
Yeah, I'm almost certain it's like there's a practical use for it rather than just like being like a nice centerpiece.
yeah, because there's the difference between having things for decoration and being able to use them.
All right, so like as kind of mentioned, this is a little bit of a carryover from the last podcast, which was mainly game remake focused. Last time we mainly covered games with new content, but the regular game is mostly the same. So we talked about Mario RPG. I believe we talked about the different Zelda ports. I talked a little bit about DuckTales Remastered, so like that
Yes.
kind of thing, where the main game is mostly the same, but there is some new content in there. Now, I think I would like to talk a little bit about games that have a brand new campaign added on top of the original with that same, or built off of that original engine. And the one that I probably have the most thoughts to share about is the remake of Sonic Generations, aka Sonic X Shadow Generations.
If I could chime in for like a few seconds and just briefly shout out my boy Cameron with an X. I know that you haven't met him, Mega, but he is somebody whose server I am in. If you don't know who he is, and I just kind of want to shout him out because he's been an awesome guy like for as long as I've known him. I don't know him personally, but he is a cocktail mixologist, and he makes food and drinks based off of his lovely and favorite video games, and he's really good at it. I don't know if I would call him an expert. I'm sure he has, far expanded more knowledge than I do on mixing drinks, but he is literally the most creative guy I've met last year. I think it was around when I was in the middle of Ocarina of Time, because he was doing the same stream. We were doing that game together pretty much, and given how he wrapped up the game before I did, because I had more to do, he didn't do it 100%. But he also did Shadow or Sonic X Shadow Generations awesome stream because we had funny moments where he just kind of got shocked by his by the person that he was married to. They just have so many funny moments off camera because it's just ridiculous. Well, I should say it's on camera, but still. He, I don't know. There's not a moment in time where I'm like, just chatting on stream and I'm just not laughing my butt off at some things that he does. But he's done Silk Song, the last one that I watched. He also did Little Misfortune, about a week ago. I think a week and a half ago. Peak stream, man. Peak stream. It's like the freakiest game that I've heard of this year. If not, I didn't play Slender the 8 Pages again, but yeah, just shouting out my dude. I probably prolonged the inevitable there, but still.
So I guess I'll go ahead and ask Alex, how much have you seen of the Shadow campaign of Sonic X Shadow Generations?
Not a whole lot. as I close my eyes halfway, what experience do you have as far as that knowledge goes?
So I was going to pick it up, and then the Switch 2 was announced. And then I think it was back in May or June, they said that there'd be a Switch 2 or there would be a Switch 2 port of the game, and I imagine it's probably going to have a higher frame rate, which I don't usually go for frame rates. I'm not really I'm not really super picky about that kind of thing as long as it's consistent within a game. But if I can get Sonic X Shadow Generations for the Switch 2 at some point whenever I have one, I'll probably go for that. Just so that way, because like a high-speed game like that, the higher frame rate's probably going to be good for reaction time. But I have at least seen most of the game. I have purposely not watched the final boss or the final cutscene, just because I know the final cutscene's probably going to make me cry. And I want to experience that for myself.
Oh, you guys. As I do the impression perfectly in the first game, at the picnic, where Sonic's birthday is ruined.
But this time, Knuckles does not get shoved back into the tree by Amy.
He doesn't. He avoids it.
Yeah, well, I think it has to do with the fact that the main writer for the Sonic games now, he may still write for the Sonic comics, but Ian Flynn, who is basically I'll call him the story czar of the Sonic series now. I guess Knuckles is his favorite character, and he didn't really want to take that dignity away from Knuckles by making him the butt of the joke for being slammed into the tree. But there are at least a few little changes to the regular Sonic portion of the game. The script was pretty much completely rewritten, which it doesn't really bother me, but it also kind of makes me wonder what was the point. Because it's really not all that different, because the Sonic portion itself, it's still fun to actually see the classic and modern together, but it wasn't a very fleshed out story to begin with, and I don't think the new script really added a whole lot. But I think they definitely, from what I've seen, knocked it out of the park with the Shadow campaign, because, well, he has more of a fleshed out past to see. Also, I'm going to say the same thing that everybody else does when it comes to the Black Doom segments, where you're warped into essentially kaleidoscope vision. I think those segments should have been Westopolis, because there are no Shadow the Hedgehog levels within Shadow's campaign. And instead it's just,
Shadow, guess what? It's Radical Highway time. I just think it's so cool.
I have to just shout out my dude Jason Matthew as well, because you sounded just like him when you just did that. Because for those listening, and for those who have also watched videos with me and Mega before, he has another mic, and he sounds a lot different than I would expect him to with the new equipment that he has.
But yeah, I do think that they picked some pretty good stages to represent Shadow. Definitely Final Chase / Final Rush to represent the arc from SI2 was a good one. I don't really know what all I would have... Sonic Heroes is kind of the 3D one that I know the least about. But Rail Canyon seems like it was a good choice. At least visually, it looks very distinct. I initially thought that they were going to do Aquatic Base from Sonic 06, and they ended up doing Kingdom Valley, which, to be fair, Kingdom Valley is the one that's on the box. So that one checks out. They're as soon as I saw it, I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah, Kingdom Valley was the better option anyway. And
speaking of Heroes, did you play the game? I'm just using this as a refresher of sorts.
No, I've actually only played SA 1 and 2.
Okay, so Sonic Adventures 1 and 2. How, if I can ask how familiar you are with something, what do you typically know about the storylines between Team Chaotix, Team Rose, and Team Dark, let alone Team Sonic?
Well, I know each of them have their own encounters. I know Sonic will fight, or Team Sonic will fight Team Dark, and they'll fight Team Rose, but they don't run into Team Chaotix at all. Chaotix will fight Team Dark and Team Rose as well.
Yeah, because Vector is the one who steals, or at least is after, Chao, and Amy and Kareem find them and battle over that little encounter. Cool enough, because I think that the encounter with Team Sonic and Team Dark was a little bit more expected because Sonic and Shadow, like, they look directly alike, although Shadow has different colors.
Though none of them react like, "Hey, Shadow, you're alive. What gives? I thought you died."
Well, it'll be a date to die for. Hey, that's my line.
Which they actually reference that in Sonic X Shadow Generations.
They
Though
did.
Ian Flynn has also kind of been criticized for that. Like, I can agree to some extent, like, hey, not everything needs to be a reference, but like a passing reference every now and again is good. At the very least, I do appreciate that they are taking continuity a little bit more seriously, and they're not afraid to call back to previous events. But yeah, the last couple stages in Shadow Generations, or well, there's Sunset Heights from Forces, which I guess that one makes sense for him because that's whenever you run into the real Shadow and not the illusion. But then they put in Chaos Island from Frontiers, and he's actually not in that game. So I think that's them implying, I don't know if they're actually going to follow up on it on a later game, though I think it'd be cool if they did. Maybe they're implying that Shadow will eventually be, they'll go back to Chaos Island at some point and Shadow will be playable there? Who's to say?
Perhaps.
But the last regular stage is Radical Highway, which again,
I just think Radical Highway is so cool.
Please, Jason, if you're listening, try and battle with your dad on this impression. Because I must say that you and him directly both sound alike.
throw the right filters on me, I will do a perfect Black Doom impression.
Your son will disagree, but I'll try to get him in on this.
But yeah, I think that the Black Doom sections of each of the levels, I think they should have been Westopolis, because I think it makes more sense for it to be there, because that's where Shadow actually met Doom. And on top of that, Westopolis, you could argue, is one of the only canon stages in Shadow the Hedgehog 2005, because every playthrough started there. So at least 2 of the Chaos Emeralds are there, and then from there the path splits depending on what you pick. So you'd argue Westopolis is canon to the events of that game, and then The Last Way, aka the Black Orb's Comet, which that could have been a fun final level too. I also think they chose some pretty good bosses too, like the Bile Lizard. Choosing the Bile Lizard, I think, was a pretty good one, because that is like the penultimate boss of Sonic Adventure 2, aside from like the final hazard, which is, it's the same entity anyway. That, and I'll take any excuse to listen to Supporting Me at any point. Though what's weird is, in game, they don't have the lyrics to Supporting Me. You actually have to listen to it in like the soundtrack or OST version. You could argue maybe it's so that way you can hear the dialogue, but the Bile Lizard doesn't talk. It's just like Shadow saying, "Oh, hey, you're doing this attack now."
Well, I was mainly talking about if other people are going to kind of reuse it for their own content or whatever it is they're making. Yeah, they'll probably, have copyright issues, but yeah, it is their own song. They are free to do what they want. I should have just, elaborated on that. But yeah, I guess.
But the fight against Metal
songs are like
Overlord still has the lyrics to What I'm Made Of. And there's way more talking there.
That is a really peak song. Speaking of, like, it kind of reverts or revamps back to Heroes. How many bosses have you fought in Heroes?
I haven't played Heroes. I've only played Adventure 1 and 2.
Okay, like
from that era.
Yeah, you said you didn't have experience on the game. I'm sure you've watched a lot of it. How many have you seen at least? Because since you haven't played the game, have you watched any?
I've seen it streamed, but I don't have a good memory of each of the stages. I want to say there's like at least 2 Eggman encounters, depending on what team you play as. And then there's Metallic Madness and Metal Overlord as the final boss.
That is the true final boss. Metal Overlord is. Metal Sonic is required to be fought as in all 4 teams. No, that actually discounts Team Sonic, because Team Sonic only fights Metal Overlord. Team Rose, Team Dark, and
yeah,
Team
they use the Chaos Emeralds after he starts flying.
Yeah. But I have to say,
which that fight in Oh, I was just going to say, like, that one's probably the fight that deviates the most in Shadow Generations because, one, it's a super form fight that doesn't use a super form. So it's kind of like in base Generations where regular Sonic went against Perfect Chaos, even though that's normally a supersonic fight. Shadow has to use the Doom Surf this time around to actually beat Metal Overlord, which, for a fight that takes some liberties here, I think it looks cool. I think some people have issues with how Doom Surf actually controls. And I think they were kind of hoping for, like, maybe, like, some other boss to represent that era, but I don't know. I think Metal Overlord was a cool pick. I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot they could pick from heroes, because I think the only other option would have been an Eggman fight, which Eggman's like more preoccupied with the Sonic portion of the game, even though I guess you could argue Classic Sonic also fights Metal Sonic. But yeah, no, I like Metal Overlord as a concept, and again, I will also take any excuse to listen to What I'm Made Of.
Yeah, or any remix of it, I'm sure. I think any edition of What I'm Made Of, I probably would just end up listening to if I just feel like listening to it again. But I just have to bring up my very frustrating past with a couple of Sonic Heroes bosses, or at least encounters, if I may elaborate on them. I think Egg Albatross from Rail Station was my biggest downfall, because it kind of revolved having to go back and forth to the left and right, and taking him down was my biggest challenge, because I just didn't have a good way to do it. But yeah, I would suggest homing attacking a lot, no matter with which team that you use. Homing attacking can really benefit you in that sense. It doesn't. I know that it sounds just logical and just cliche, but homing attacking is actually not a bad move to use. I know that you have to spam it a lot until you at least reach up your meter on Team Blast. But that also comes in handy. But if I have to put, like, in the grand finale scheme of bosses that really kind of frustrated me in Sonic Heroes, the Egg Emperor, by far, because there's so many gaps that you just have to, jump across, and that you just end up falling down anyway, no matter how hard you try to get across, because you have to use those boosters that just exist on the edge. Because if you don't use those, you're basically done, my friend. It's probably easier in 2D, because in 3D I think I kind of know why a lot of Sonic Hero, or at least a lot of Sonic fans don't like Heroes that much, or at least, the people that I've spoken to about it. It's because some camera angles are bad. Some camera angles are bad in that game, and I have to agree with them, and I think everybody would agree with me on this, because I don't think anybody would feel sorry for the shade that Sonic Heroes gets. Although it's a great game, I still love it, but bad camera angles equals a thumbs down in most people's favors.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to play it for myself, so I can't really weigh in on that matter, unfortunately. But I guess, like, the last thing, or the last encounter that Shadow has that I've actually seen is the one against Mephiles the Dark from Sonic 06, which I think there were also some people that were pulling for Infinite to be a boss in Shadow Generations, but I think they should probably have picked either Mephiles or Infinite, and between those two, I'm rooting a little bit more for Mephiles, because he has more of a connection to Shadow. And if they had picked both, then that's probably one too many bosses where Shadow's just like, they're just like, Shadow, I'm gonna finish you once and for all. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
That, and what was cool about the Mephiles fight was we actually got to see Mephiles remembers the events of Sonic 06. Like, his timeline was erased, but he's, like, living in this, like, state of limbo in the Scepter of Darkness until he comes along and the boss fight takes place. And he basically says that he's going to restore himself to the timeline. That's really cool. Which, like, say whatever you want about Sonic 06's story, I am not going to defend that at all. But, like, Mephiles as a character, in terms of characterization, he was really interesting. His plan doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but he was a cool character. And the fact that he was, like, so calm and collected throughout 06, and then he's wiped from the timeline, and the next time we meet him here, some people have argued he kind of sounds whiny during the boss fight. I take that as he is desperate now. He's just like, I gotta get out of here. I need to exist. I honestly, I consider that as, well, maybe not character development, but
That's definitely.
so I don't know. I thought it was cool. I enjoyed seeing him.
I guess that in a way wraps up Generations. I think.
I guess the only other thing I was going to talk about was, if you have to, or if you can, check out the prologue animation called Dark Beginnings. It was a 3-part thing, and I think they uploaded the compilation of all 3 parts in one video, which was nice. It's essentially, yeah, the prelude to what Shadow was doing, so it explains how he actually gets to the arc where he starts the game. I really hope Sega keeps like making this supplemental material, because they also had a Knuckles prologue for Frontiers, and these always turn out so well. Like, especially the Shadow one, the ending with the song Without You, like, again, that brings a tear to my eye.
Oh,
it's beautiful. Yeah. Chef's kiss. No notes.
Chef's kiss, but hey, don't put hair in the food. Don't put hair in the food, little cooks out there, because you will get a 1 star on Yelp. Anyway.
I also have on here Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury and the 3DS version of Superstar Saga, aka Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions. Do you have any thoughts on either of these?
No. In a funny way, because like, just like you haven't played Heroes, I have not gotten to play those, sadly, because I hate to blame this on the process of moving, but I am moving, so I kind of don't have much money to play around with some of like the new titles that today's millennium wants to get into, although I did purchase some. I will talk about that later, maybe after you talk about All-Star Sagas and Bowser's Minions. What do you have to say?
All right. Well, I guess I'll say, in terms of Bowser's Fury, I really like the concept there. I don't know if I would want the next 3D Mario to be modeled off of it, but it's essentially a little bit more sandboxy than 3D World, while still like kind of splitting the difference. So it has like 3D World like level design, but it still feels kind of like open worldy, like 64 or Sunshine, or even like parts of Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
It is a little too easy at points. I think being able to stack power-ups, like, you can essentially take like 5 of each kind of power-up and store it away. So if you die, I think that it's kind of your own fault. So, like, in a sense, it's like a little easy there, but I'm not expecting that every single Mario game needs to be like super difficult or anything like that.
They don't. If I had to really pick one that I threw shade out a lot when I first started playing it, it was 64. It's not a remake or anything, but I just had to talk about it. When you're talking about this much difficulty, Mario 64's, just original layout had too many slippery slopes. I had to get the word out there. It's a little bit of play on word there, if I might say myself. Yeah, I first heard about you. I'm probably diving off topic, but I first heard about Mega when I watched him guest in Maltese Super Mario 64 Let's Play with TikTok Clock, not to be confused with TikTok Croc from Peter Pan. That is just an easy level to die in, like, over and over. So I'm not talking about Bowser's Minions or Superstar Saga.
If you don't die, then it's like still a pain to try to backtrack.
Yeah, and that specific level involves having to enter over and over when the minute hand lands on a certain number. So, hey, if you want to, since it's Halloween, if you want to haunt yourself, go play TikTok Clock in Mario 64. You'll have a good time.
But in terms of like the base game 3D World, I think movement was boosted, or movement speed was boosted for, I think, every single character. And I am glad that they actually left in the stamps as collectibles. I don't remember what they do off the top of my head. It's been a couple of years since I played it. But originally the stamps were for Miiverse, and since the Switch doesn't have Miiverse, they repurposed them for something else, which was nice. So at the very least, like, the collectible and the puzzle or the effort to obtain that is still within the game.
Right. And while I'm kind of, celebrating Miiverse's, lifespan, because although it doesn't exist anymore and people don't really use it anymore, it's out of our way. Not saying that it's a bad thing to lose, but just having a straight up Nintendo account on Switch, I think it helps a lot, but it kind of sucks just not being able to share a whole lot of things like you would on Miiverse. So if you found something funny in, let's say, Wind Waker HD, you can immediately share it on Miiverse. That isn't really the biggest case on Switch. It might be, because I actually never got to try it myself. Yeah.
Actually, I do want to add this. I think I had commented on your Wind Waker. Do you remember I had commented about the Tingle statues that were used in the original, where you had to use the Tingle tuner to find them? Apparently, there was a way that you were supposed to learn about them through the Wii U version, and that was actually through Miiverse. Miiverse would tell you where those statues were and where to place the bomb.
Yeah, if
nowadays, if you're playing it, you just have to know where they are, because you can't access those posts anymore.
Yeah, if I didn't add in the comment, I should have. Yeah, Miiverse did actually assist you on it back when that game was still, new at the time. It's been 12 years now, going on 13. If you did want to find out those, yeah, Miiverse was your best friend. The Tingle Tuner in the original definitely helped you out when you wanted to find Tingle Goddess statues, because I think I just know where all of them are, at, by heart. I've played it so many times. I probably misremember one, and that's probably Forbidden Wood. No, I know where that one is. It's in one of the lower levels where you have to drop down a ladder and go off to the right, and that's where your next key is. Just place a bomb down, and that's where your Tingle Goddess statue is. Tower of the Gods, in my opinion, is a little sneaky because you have to ride the platform all the way up in the main level room with that BMOS and get it there. So, most frustrating moment in Wind Waker history was finding the Tingle Goddess statues. It's not as bad as an experience as, having to overcome the troubles of the fabled Nintendo Gallery, which I've done, which took years of research. But yeah, goddess statues are at least your last test of knowledge if you want to, at least get all 5 of them. So go ahead, Zelda fans, enjoy yourself. I'm kidding. I'm not just gonna say that with pleasure, but.
But I guess the last bit in terms of games that have an all new campaign added on top of them. A couple years ago, I picked up the 3DS remake of Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, which it is probably one of the more ideal ways to play the game now. Thankfully, NSO actually does have the original, so for accessibility, that one's the most accessible, but the quality of life features in Superstar Saga 3DS are probably make it the ideal way to play it. You have the bottom screen where you can swap between your bros moves very easily. Visually, it just looks really nice. You can press the X button to have both bros jump at the same time. The only thing is that it is kind of like the sanitized version of the Mario characters, so you're not going to see a whole lot of variations in the Toads, Goombas, or Koopa designs, which is unfortunate. But it is still a very good port, I think. They may have been pushing it a little bit when it came to the Bowser's Inside Story port, but I haven't played that one for myself, but people have shared their experiences. But Superstar Saga justified its own remake more than Bowser's Inside Story, I think is what the general consensus is. The Bowser's Minions half of the game, on the other hand, I'm not really much for tactical games, but I haven't heard a whole lot of people say that they've really favored it. I mean, I guess I enjoyed some of the story in that and the cutscene compilation I've seen of Bowser Jr.'s journey, but it's just gameplay that I don't really jive with. You do pick your own team, but for the most part, you don't really have a whole lot of say in what happens in the battle. I guess you can roll the roulette, and you can also react to some action commands, but I feel like most of what happens in the battle is kind of out of the player's hand. That, and there have been points where I've had to grind for levels to level up my team, and if I have to do that, then I don't feel like I'm having a very good time with it. I feel like level up progression should happen a little bit more naturally. You shouldn't have to grind too much, but Yeah, I feel like once I'm done, I haven't beaten the Bowser's Minions part. I think I'm like a stage or two away. Again, I do need to grind for those levels, but I feel like once I beat it once, it's probably not going to be something that I return to. Superstar Saga's campaign, yes, but Bowser's Minions, not so much.
Yeah, that kind of wraps up most Mario things. However, I want to add one more thing. This got a lot of hype in like the beginning of October. Galaxy 1 and 2 have been remade for the Switch and Switch 2. The biggest difference is that when you play the Switch 1 edition, yeah, your loading times will be a little bit slower because it is a next-gen console, and your loading times, let's say you die in a level in Mario Galaxy 1 or 2, your loading time is actually faster on the Wii than it would be on the Switch 1. Now, yeah, since the Switch 2 is out now, a lot has happened between this episode and, the time that the first segment of this episode was released in December 31st. A lot has happened. The Switch 2 came out. We've gotten at least a good few directs in. Yeah, we've gotten to explore many of what the directs have to offer, and we've gotten frustrated. We also jumped for joy at most parts, but I feel like I just have to talk about, or we can talk about, we've done 2 versuses of Galaxy 2, but I just have to address the major differences that I think that I would specifically change because it's, productivity's sake, and it doesn't affect the gameplay too much, and I guess in some favors it could because a lot of people don't want to wait a long time for a level to reload. But Galaxy 1, or mostly Galaxy 2 that I've noticed this in, is that when you die in a level, it fades out, and it just brings you back. However, in Galaxy 2 on the Switch that I've noticed a lot, or at least on the Wii, the Wii, Bowser's outline of his face will show in black, and then zoom out and in, and then bring you back to the level. However, on Switch, it just kind of fades out, and that animation is not there, so I'm kind of sad that wasn't there. I'm not saying the game is
just like
bad.
a little bit of extra personality.
Yeah, and sadly that is not there, and also, if I may join hands with Mega here, and, we should pay our respects to Bank Toad. He was our friend. He was really our lifesaver when it came to certain things, as, specifically, or especially, unlocking that one extra galaxy in each world, 1 through
We were
S.
bank homies.
Yeah, you can just go back and just cheat. You can cheat in Galaxy 2, and go back through your other game files if you have other game files, and get star bits from those. That is not the case in the Switch edition. No matter which
Now he's
console
just
you
there
play
for
it on.
amiibo support, right?
Yep, he is there for amiibo support, and if you want to unlock Grandmaster Galaxy, or at least the perfect run, or the Comet mission for that galaxy, you have to manually get 9,999 star bits. You do have to do that if you played on the Wii for the first time, because when you first pick up the Wii version, you don't have other save files. It's a brand new game, so
Right.
when you have
But
to do that,
everybody knows the Melty Monster trick.
everybody does know the Melty Monster trick, and I have to point out something about Galaxy 2 that I learned from my boy Butter, who is a nice companion of my brother Jason here, figuratively, because he's not my biological brother. Sweet Mystery has its prodigy moments for speedrun tactics, because I think if you want to really productively grind starbits, that is also the place to go. However, there is a tricky one-up spot that you have to just memorize that's there, because I think when you do Melty Monster, it's kind of just muscle memory. That one-up is always there. Let's say if the blue Rosalina pops up, that's like the only galaxy that it ever has. I think, Meg is also not so favored galaxy. I have to point out Stone Cyclone.
What's Stone Cyclone? That galaxy doesn't exist, and I'm definitely not repressing it in any certain way.
Anyway, those Galaxy 2 is still a gem to me, no matter which version I play it on. Yeah, there are some differences that, that I would change. It's just been revamped, and I gotta say, flying with Fluzzard really is a game changer in just holding up the Joy-Con instead. Flying with Fluzzard really just changes the whole mechanic of just flying. I know that it's just the same controls, although the controller is smaller. I mean, it's a Joy-Con compared to a Wii Remote. It helps me a lot. It's productive. It's just kind of, compact. It's easy until you have to get the green stars. When I played Galaxy 1...
it's a whole other story.
When I fired up Galaxy 1 on the Switch, the Luma also does mention that you have to press B to jump. Doesn't A also work? I mean, come on. Man. Nintendo is kind of being, like, a little bit shadish with it. Not saying that it's a bad, control mechanic, but A, for all of human history, has been the button to jump. I mean, come on, Luma. What are you doing?
B is to run.
B is to attack. That's what I also, knew.
In 2D.
In 2D, yeah. And it depresses me because I have finished Galaxy 2 on the Switch. I picked it up just at the beginning of this month. My first GameStop didn't have it. I had to go across about 30 minutes away and get it at the other GameStop, because I think the original one that I went to first, their shipment went to another GameStop instead. So I was like, if only I would have known that first.
That's embarrassing.
I would not have, have to go on to 2 different GameStops to pick it up. But anyhow, I think that's also... Oh, the storybook. The storybook.
I was hoping you were going to talk about that. Yes. I'm pretty sure I brought it up during the Galaxy 2 Versus rematch, but I was lamenting the fact that they shut down the story for Galaxy 2 right away as soon as production of it began. They added the story, or they put it in finally, the proposed story of Lubba meeting Rosalina. That's in there now. I was so happy.
It's NCS.
What I am not happy about, however, is the additional chapters like the epilogue from the Galaxy 1 story and all of the Galaxy 2 story with Lubba. They have flat out said that that's not going to be in the physical storybook that they're releasing in real life. That disappoints me.
Yeah. I guess the storybook in itself really does bring the elements to life of how, Lubba met Rosalina. You were saying that there was a small thing missing, and I guess if any Mario fan out there worth their salt wanted to see more out of the storybook, then feel free to also express your opinions on it, because when I played it, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna read, all 5 parts, or however many parts there are, and just kind of skim through them, but I was like, you know what, no, I have to sit back and read, because this is what I woke up so early in the morning for, just to go ahead and pick it up. And Jason, Butter, and everybody else that I was in call with, and we were just chiming away, drinking Sprite, and chilling, and revamping this game. Although I've already done 2 versuses of it. It was nice to play it again.
Yeah, I will say, it seems like as more time goes on, 3D All-Stars kind of loses justification for why it was made, because originally it was just meant to be like that compilation of those first 3 3D Mario titles, but then it was also a limited release, so you could only get it up until March 2021, and then it was gone. At least they were ceasing production of it. But then they released Mario 64 on NSO, then we got GameCube NSO, so Sunshine's available. Now we have this, so 3D All-Stars admittedly doesn't have a whole lot going for it, because the only other feature exclusive to that was the music gallery. And I guess arguably it is a little bit more upscaled, because the NSO versions of 64 and Sunshine are just basically emulated from the GameCube. So, I mean, the quality, I guess, is a little bit better. But yeah, admittedly, 3D All-Stars doesn't really have a whole lot going for it anymore. But I am more glad for Galaxy 1 Plus 2, because now Galaxy 2 has an official re-release. It is such a good game, and it really deserved one.
Definitely. And, I've kind of had this, expression of, it being released on the Switch, no matter which Switch you play it on, 1 or 2, it doesn't matter, but it definitely deserves its, amount of love that it gets. I think the Wii version still I have more respect for, because that's what really hyped me up. But if you really want to play a more remastered, touched up version, I think your better option would be on the Switch 2, because if you don't want to wait a long time after dying on a level, like in the Switch 1, not saying that's a bad addition, the Switch 2 is a better option. Just saying. I'd still replay the one on the Switch because that's what I woke up early in the morning to go ahead and get. Switch 2, I gotta give it a hand. Or both editions deserve one. I did have a question, though, since we're on the topic of NSO in a way. What is your opinion on Luigi's Mansion, originally on the GameCube, coming to NSO?
Oh, I think it's a great idea. That way now all 3 Luigi's Mansion titles are playable on the same console, which I will wholeheartedly support. My brother actually has the GameCube version, and I admittedly kind of bummed I first played the original because I bummed the original from my cousin Whatchamagivit. Maybe a little too often here. I'm sorry, Whatcha. But then my brother picked it up at a later point, and I played his for a while. And then I think the year that they released it, I got the 3DS version of Luigi's Mansion. And that's a pretty good version as well. I like that you can rematch the portrait ghosts and actually try for the gold frames. It's a little bit easier to do that there, thankfully. But of course, if there's anybody that prefers the charm of the GameCube original, I won't downplay that it does have its charm. And is probably the preferred method, especially with an analog stick and the actual L&R buttons.
Yeah.
So again, I will wholeheartedly support it. And it's also releasing on Switch in time for Halloween, too.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Nintendo's intention, just for this sake of this part of the year.
It's definitely probably the game I've played through the most times, just because it's so easy to pick it up and beat it in an afternoon. I think my best time is maybe 3 hours. I've never actually officially timed myself, but I think it has taken me about 3 hours to beat it. Maybe a little bit less, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, it's a short game, so if you ever want to just test out your waters and see how fast you can really beat a game, Luigi's Mansion is for you. All right, the next, it's not really a remake, but it's a really boiling up opinion that I have been waiting for a couple of years. For anybody who
kind of piggybacks off of one of the games that we had talked about here recently too.
Yeah, Mario Galaxy's movie, for those who have not seen the teaser trailer, I did not get to participate in the whole reaction. However, I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but I was getting out of the shower, and I read the chat that I was in the direct chat on Discord. I was in a group chat, and I was like, I have a little bit of time left. I'm going to go ahead and see what everybody's up to. And I hopped in, and all the green circles just lit up. I was like, oh boy, what's going on? And yeah, they are making a Mario Galaxy movie. And the one thing that Jason pointed out that I love, that I really didn't know, now that he mentioned it, I did kind of notice it. The butterfly in the very beginning of that teaser trailer is the same one from the ending of the first movie, which is where you see Yoshi's egg. It's back. In a different universe. And Mario has the responsibility of going out and getting stars. I was kind of expecting this because I knew that Yoshi was going to come in the next movie. I knew there was going to be another movie, but not one that was featured to Galaxy. So that was one that I didn't expect because I did know that was going to be another movie.
I wholly expect that Yoshi is going to play a part in this movie because of that tease at the end. What I think a lot of many other people thought they were going to do was, I thought that the second Mario movie was going to be Super Mario World, and then maybe they would finish off with Galaxy. I think I had even speculated as much in the podcast where we had talked exclusively about the Mario movie. Just because it kind of feels weird that we're jumping into space now, because where do you go beyond space? I feel like a third movie would kind of be a nice bookend to go the biggest, or to go bigger than you had before.
We're back. Disconnection there still, but we don't have much left to go. We have but one more topic after this, but yeah, our where we left off, we were talking about where we would leave off in space, and Mega's opinion on why, or at least what he would want out of a second Mario movie as opposed to maybe a third one, which is where he would probably prefer a space movie like Galaxy, but you said Mario World probably would have been a more exceptional one as a second movie. I guess I agree because yeah.
I mean, if they want to do a trilogy, essentially, that's my thought of how it should be done. Just because I don't know if they do a third one again. Where do you go beyond space? That's the biggest spectacle.
Right. I mean, who knows? I think Super Mario World would have been an okay sequel. However, I think Nintendo, Nintendo, I guess, the company who makes this incredible movie, has had too much up their belt and just kind of wanted to show what, a space universe would look like in a Mario segment, or at least a Mario atmosphere. I guess kind of introducing that early, as they did. I guess they just wanted to introduce how the galaxy mechanics would probably work in a Mario movie, if that makes sense. And, not have
Well, it also
fans
did give
wait
them a
this
chance
long.
to re-release both Galaxy titles, too, so maybe, that also had a say in it. So, what all are you expecting? Do you have any specific galaxies you think they will visit?
Oh, yeah. What I would like to see visited would probably be definitely Melty Monster, because it has a very loved OST by most Mario fans.
I feel pretty safe in assuming, because Galaxy had such a grand soundtrack with them going with a full orchestra, I think even if we don't see Melty Monster or even some of the more iconic themes, we will at the very least hear their music somewhere. I could see there being a nice medley in the credits. Give me Puzzle Plank's music somewhere, please. I'm begging you.
I mean, who knows? Puzzle Plank might come about because it is also a very, well-loved OST. I figured out that it's not actually a terrible song. I guess if I have anything in my expectations, in my, handful of expectations in a Mario Galaxy movie, I probably would want to see Melty Molten first. Because that's kind of what introduced the concept of Melty Monster, which was in Galaxy 2. Melty Molten has a mechanic where, lava rises towards the very centerpiece of volcano in that last planet that you visit, and you have to wall jump up to the star before, Mario gets submerged in lava. So...
Oh, that would be a fun set piece for the movie.
That would be an incredible mechanic to find in a Mario movie, because while I love Melty Monster, I think Melty Molten might add some suspense, and just knowing that, they might not have much time left after a certain amount of exploring, and that they have to escape something, that would be good. This is probably jumping the gun again, but Boss Blitz. How do you feel about that?
Well, Boss Blitz was, I'm assuming, mainly put in Galaxy 2 just because they had the assets from Galaxy 1 and they just wanted to, have kind of a boss rush arena. So I don't know if it would make as much sense to put it in the movie. I'm assuming maybe, at least a few of the bosses from both of the games will show up, but they'll probably be more obstacles, if anything. I don't think there will be a whole arena full of all 5 or 6, however many there were within Boss Blitz. Again, I think Boss Blitz was just kind of made kind of on the cheap, not to call them out entirely, but just because they had those assets to port over from the first game.
Yeah, because we already know that Major Burrows is in one. Bouldergeist was already in the first game. I'm expecting Dino Piranha and Fiery Dino Piranha in the movie. That would be cool. I don't know if they would
I think at least regular Dino Piranha, because I'm almost fully expecting Good Egg will be a Galaxy, especially since it's already kind of Yoshi themed and Yoshi is supposed to be in the movie somewhere.
Good Egg Galaxy,
And especially since it's like one of the, aside from the Gateway, is the first galaxy you visit. I think like it's earned its iconic status.
yeah, Good Egg Galaxy, and most likely Gusty Garden. That is not even a question. That is just a. It's not a question if they put it in the movie. It's a question when they put it in the movie.
Of where and when.
Yeah,
Because Gusty Garden's music is in the credits of the first one.
if they don't put my beloved Gusty Garden in the movie, I'm regretting my decision to spend money to go and see the movie. No, I'm kidding. If they don't put it in, I'll be shocked. Not that I'm not going to love the movie, but man, that is one reason to not love a Mario movie if they don't put the centerpiece Galaxy in the movie. But yeah, speaking of just, bosses, I'll expect just straight up regular Dino Piranha. I don't know if they would go as far to put bosses like Bouldergeist and Major Burrows and Fiery Dino Piranha. I agree with that.
I would probably say root against Bouldergeist only because he's very much associated with the it's not Haunty Halls, what is it? Okay, it's just called Ghosts of Galaxy.
Okay.
Right, so we can cut all of that out. So I would probably vote against Bouldergeist only because he's so closely tied with Ghostly Galaxy. And what I'd personally like to see at some point is them do a Luigi's Mansion movie, and I don't want them to like play all of their Luigi's Mansion like cards. Because if you put Bouldergeist in, then Haunty Halls would, or not Haunty Halls, Ghostly Galaxy would have to be there somewhere. And again, I don't want them to use like too many of their Luigi's Mansion assets before he could get his own potential movie. Same thing with a Donkey Kong movie, which by the way, Seth Rogen is not supposed to be in this. He's not on the list of cast members that they've listed. So either we got enough Donkey Kong from the first one and they can't really justify using him here, or maybe they're going to make a Donkey Kong movie, which I would support as well.
Or they'll be generous and have Seth Rogen voice somebody else besides Donkey Kong. I don't know. They might not go that far. They might not go that far, but they also might.
Seth Rogen as, and now to introduce Seth Rogen as Rosalina.
Oh my god! I'm the fact that actors.
Whoa! There's a Warfield inside the castle. Go Mario!
Man, I don't know. I definitely see Jack Black probably accepting a Rosalina role as well as Seth Rogen, but I don't think they're gonna go that far. I don't know. Probably Anya Taylor-Joy, who's voiced Peach in the first one, probably would go towards Rosalina because, let's be real here. She's a female character. I mean, come on. But yeah, Rosalina.
See, I think people have actually said if it hadn't been for the first movie, they would have guessed Anya Taylor-Joy as Rosalina. But I think they're probably going to have to cast somebody else. I don't know who all. I haven't looked up a whole lot of fan casting.
I'm out of guesses on that, honestly, because they could throw in anybody. This is, if I could just kind of go on a little rant, this is not me throwing shade, it also is. I am not really for, big name actors as my most beloved Nintendo characters.
I mean, that was my original frustration with the first movie, and at the very least, we still got a good product out of it, which is why I wanted to give those revised thoughts. But I mean, if they have to cast a celebrity, at the very least, have there be some logic to it.
Like, I really don't, I don't know how you feel, but I really don't want to wake up and find Tom Cruise as freaking Bowser. I mean, come on. It wouldn't work.
But, no, I can justify why they picked Jack Black. He was a good choice.
He's the beefy and bulky man that we all need. Not to describe him that way, but still. Like, I know that we really didn't talk about it a lot, but he did an acceptable job as Steve from the Minecraft movie. It's not... I kind of love that movie, not because it's good, but because it's horrible. It's a really horrible movie. Let's be honest.
When Mario saddles up for the first time with Yoshi, he's gonna go, Yoshi Jockey!
Yoshi Jockey. If they at least, put another re-edition of the Lava Chicken song in the Mario movie, the Mario Galaxy movie, I will be amazed. I will go to sleep satisfied.
I don't know. I heard enough kids singing the Peaches song. I think I'm good. I don't think I need a repeat of that.
Peach, understand. I'm not even gonna finish those lyrics. But man, there's just so much to conclude here on what a Mario Galaxy movie would entail. Um, I guess we just have.
I
Some
imagine
thinking
it'll
to
very
do.
much be like a road trip movie like the first one was. Or, well, I guess it was more of like a road trip movie once they actually started moving towards the Kong Kingdom. I imagine we'll probably get like a few, like kind of a quick compilation of a few galaxies. I guess some that have like a very specific look that I would want to see would be Space Junk, Battle Rock, Toy Time. I don't know if I need it to be like a full on location. Probably Beach Bowl. I think that would be fun. Just like get like a variety of like the most famous ones in there
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sky
from
Station.
1 and 2, because I imagine it'll probably mix elements of Galaxy 1 and 2.
I'm pretty certain that Sky Station would probably make its way in there at some point. I don't know when, but if they threw it in, I also would not be shocked. Consider that it's the very first galaxy in Mario Galaxy 2. It might
Or
make
at the
its
very
way
least, like
in.
the windmills and stuff, like those elements.
I want to probably throw the one with Gobblegut in there, just to say that Bowser is just forming into his true form. That because Gobblegut really isn't Bowser. He's just a close look, but no, he's a snake. He's not a turtle.
Gobblegut, I could see them being an obstacle. Like maybe Bowser sicks him on the main cast to try to buy himself some time, or just cause an inconvenience for them. It was Bowser Jr.'s, was it Fireleaf Flotilla for the first one?
Yes,
I don't necessarily think that they would that they would introduce Bowser Jr. in this movie, but they could. If not, at the very least, like they could have Bowser stick it on him.
Other than that, I am just kind of out of ideas as to what I would expect in a Mario Galaxy movie.
Probably Lubba and Galaxy or and Starship Mario too. I think they could find some way to fit it in there, almost like how the Smash Bros. Galaxy stage incorporated them.
Oh, that reminds me. If I can like revert off of the Galaxy movie for a second, I talked about this a lot, and everybody that I brought it up to disagreed with me. A remake that I would like to see, that or at least what I've liked to see. I know we're probably not going to get it, since it would be the very first Smash Bros. Remake that we would have ever gotten. But I love the entire franchise. How would y'all feel if Smash 4 was remade for Switch? I really want to know, because it's not as peak as Ultimate would be, because I think everybody likes the concept of just, playing on Switch now as opposed to Wii U. Most cases, that is, since if you're on the run, you can play Ultimate. But all the other consoles, you have to be at home to do it. Since Smash 4 or Smash Bros for the Wii U was the first next generation Smash Bros game, if that was remade, just to kind of, give a nice introduction to the next gen Smash Bros mechanics on the Switch, if it was remade, how would you feel? Because I like the soundtrack, has a killer intro. We're probably not going to get it. I definitely agree with, everybody who I brought this up to that says we're not going to get it. I don't see it happening. But what if it did happen?
I don't really think that there's much need to remake Smash 4 because it's kind of been outclassed by Ultimate. Ultimate pretty much did everything that Smash 4 needed to do, and it has, like, Ultimate also just has, like, more of an identity, where it had the Spirits mode in World of Light. Smash 4 didn't really have any kind of, like, alternate campaign aside from Smash Tour, which was the board game mode that, let's face it, nobody enjoyed. Maybe Smash Run if they did remake Smash 4 of some kind. Smash Run from the 3DS version, that one has some legs, but that also just depends on would they be willing to remake that when They have Ultimate, which kind of already does everything it does, or that one does. It has all the same characters. I guess there were some stages that we had missed out on, like the Star Fox Orbital Gate Assault stage and the Yoshi's Woolly World stage. But I think like each one, 64 was the one that started it all. Melee introduced introduced many other characters and kind of became a blueprint or the future titles would release content, like with trophies and additional stages and whatnot. Brawl had Subspace Emissary, which everybody remembers it for, and having a variety of side modes. Smash 4, I mean, I guess it was like released in the modern internet era, so we all got to be excited whenever a new character was going to be announced, but then we got Ultimate with Everybody Is Here and the Spirits mode, so yeah, I think Smash 4 kind of has the least going for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because let's say if Ultimate was never released, I'm definitely sure they would have remade Smash 4 if Ultimate was not in the way.
Which I feel like that was pretty much what Ultimate was, because once they released Smash 4, Satoru Iwata, before his passing, I think, had asked Sakurai if he would develop Smash Bros. For the Switch, because they kind of knew that the Wii U was going to be out the door in a few years.
Yeah, I'm sure the Wii U is mostly outclassed by the Switch in many ways, not just in Smash Bros. But yeah, that was like one little question I had for like the side. I know that it had nothing to do with the Mario Galaxy movie, but it's just like an idea that I had in mind. I brought it up to the chat that the Direct was in. I just kind of wanted to get your take on it because, yeah, while Smash 4 was outshined, it's not a bad game. I love the game still to pieces, but
no, I wouldn't call it a bad game. Just like I said, I think it is outclassed.
Yeah, it has. Ultimate definitely does have a lot that Smash 4 doesn't have. So, again, if Ultimate wasn't there, that definitely would have been a thing, mostly, in my opinion. But it probably won't be. If it is, great, I'll accept it, but it probably won't. Our last segment would be, one of us wouldn't speak intelligently on this because Mega here says that he's not completed Hyrule Warriors and Age of Calamity, which does lead us into Age of Imprisonment coming out in a little over a week from now. My expectations, what would I want? Well, as one who also can't speak that intelligently on Age of Imprisonment and my expectations, what I would like to see, or at least see featured, is how they would probably expand on the imprisoning lore. Well, before I get into that, Fi's theme at the end of the teaser trailer. Excuse me? Fi's theme? Are we gonna get an expansion of Fi in Age of Imprisonment? That would be accepted.
I actually haven't really followed it very closely, but that is interesting because they haven't really referenced Fi, except for there may have been like a very brief one in Breath of the Wild, which you could argue if that was even meant to be a reference at all. But there is a certain cutscene where I think it's possible they could have been referencing her.
That's a good question. That is a really good question.
Though the era of the Wild, while still making references to previous games, does seem kind of hesitant in sharing that continuity, if that makes sense. So calling back to Skyward Sword would be really interesting to see.
Yeah, and let's say Age of Imprisonment really does knock it out of the park with how they produce it. Let's say Fi, with her theme being present in the teaser trailer. One character that me and Jason would always both agree on is that we would love to see more out of Demise. Although his true form is only present in the ending fights in Skyward Sword. What if he was present more in Age of Imprisonment? That would be a nice addition of Demise, because for one, we don't really see him as his true form in the entirety of Skyward Sword. We were just kind of forced in this way, not saying that Skyward Sword is a bad game, that is probably one of my most beloved ones because it starts the timeline, but we are almost forced in a way to see Demise in his hideous state, which the old one always says, in his hideous state. He only comes about in his true form when Girahim resurrects him in the distant past when he kidnaps Zelda and does his deed. What if they showed more of him in Age of Imprisonment, which I'm sure is what I would expect a lot of Zelda fans to want. That would be good. And for those who don't know what the imprisoning war entails, it's when Ganondorf betrays King Rauru and kills Queen Sonia, stealing her awesome stone, thus becoming the Demon King. That's basically what made him the Demon King in all of, the Zelda timeline. However, if you've played A Link to the Past, which I haven't played a lot of, but I've watched the entire game, that features the timeline in a really sort of Ocarina of Time present state, where the 7 sages are there, and they're going to seal away the Demon King, other known as Ganondorf, in the Sacred Realm. If they really throw more of how that came about in Age of Imprisonment, I'm pretty sure I would, turn off the Switch satisfied if I were to get the Switch 2 and get Age of Imprisonment. That'll be okay with me.
I guess the only thing with wanting Demise to appear is the fact that we do know that Ganondorf is supposed to be there, and Ganondorf is Demise's reincarnation. He flat out says a reincarnation of my hatred will follow your bloodline and those who carry your spirit, or something to that effect. So I don't know how likely we are to get him, unfortunately. I think it'd be cool if they got to expand on his character, but I don't know how likely it is if Ganondorf's already there.
If I were to, play Age of Imprisonment today, that would be a cool thing to see. But who knows? I would, with Fi's theme being present in the teaser trailer, I would love to see more of her. But that was the one and only thing that really stuck out to me in the trailer and the direct, was her theme just being there at the end. But who knows? I think, with most of Hyrule Warriors releases being in November, I really doubt that it would be a January thing, because it's really just the fall/winter time to go ahead and release those. It's just how, awesome Nintendo is. That's kind of all I really have for Age of Imprisonment.
Okay. I guess I'll kind of introduce these two final topics, so to speak, and I guess these are a little bit more interactive, so those of you listening at home, feel free to comment below. Since a lot of this was kind of a carryover of the Remake podcast from last time, I want to pose the question to both the audience as well as yourself, Alex. What remakes do you want to see in the future of any game? It could be a full-on remake, or at least even a port.
Dora the Explorer and the Adventure to the Purple Castle. I'm joking.
Peak.
I'm joking. Ask Jason. Ask your son. He hates the mechanics in the game, although he was bored one stream and just wanted to practice and write down notes of speedrunning it.
Jason, my son, how do you find this?
I don't know. I was just there. Him and I were just there blatantly making fun of Dora the entire time.
I guess in terms of remakes that I want to see, and just because I don't know if there's a chance of Wii games being added to NSO, given the fact that we have the Galaxy games being released, and Skyward Sword got its own release, I don't know how likely they are to have a Wii NSO, so I would personally like to see them remake Wario Land Shake It, or even an HD port of that, because I can talk about this now because we've actually announced it. It's still in the process of post-production, but myself, Jason Matthew, and Whatchamagivit, we recorded the Wario Land Shake It verses over the summer. We did that blind, and I think the three of us really walked away from it with very positive feelings in the game, so I think it is a game that is well-deserving of some kind of re-release, and I think people would get a kick out of it now. It was actually Good Feel, so they had made Kirby's Epic Yarn, the Yarn game, or Yoshi's Woolly World, I believe Crafted World, and they most recently had made Princess Peach Showtime.
Gotcha. Oh, that was cut. I'm sorry. I was actually looking up the company who made the game that I would like to see a remake of.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. We can cut that out.
No, that was cool to know too. I'll probably add it in. I might not. But It's it's not a Wii game, it's a GameCube game, and it's not by Nintendo, it's by Konami Computer Entertainment of Hawaii. It's Frogger Beyond. It's actually just a platformer where you play as Frogger on his birthday, and he is on his way to the, kingdom to save the world. That's an old one because I really should not be speaking on that one because a lot of people didn't like it because of how its gameplay mechanics turned out to be. The only thing that you ended up using was the actual joystick for the camera and the D-pad being where you walk or, leap because you're a frog. I don't know. It would be interesting to see that really being remade on Switch. Not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's also impossible either. I'm just saying it's unlikely.
It's one that you have like a personal attachment to that theoretically could potentially happen. Which,
yeah.
I mean, Konami has re-released titles before. I mean, like, look at the Metal Gear franchise. They had at least one collection re-released in the last couple of years. So if they own the Frogger IP, they could release maybe a whole compilation of Frogger's titles. Okay. And the last thing I think we were going to talk about here, which also goes hand in hand with the remakes, is should re-releases of games or remakes be as much as $60? This is a question that has been thrown out quite frequently, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Alex, as well as those who are listening and watching at home.
So I'm going to reach out to everybody who is a gamer and has this most joyful hobby. I think that it's acceptable to have it at that price because if it entails a really good quality of life improvement like controls, let's say the original controls in a original platform didn't work out for that person and they revamped it to make it better, like Skyward Sword on Switch, which is a good example. If it really improves on its control-wise, yeah, I definitely see it being reasonable at that amount of money. If they add new content as well, and they kind of keep it at a stagnant good price right there, that's even more of a steal because not only you're getting the same game revamped and improved, you're getting new content. That's if they add new content to it. But yeah, if it's been revamped and it's been improved on, I definitely see it being reasonable.
All right. And I guess I'll go ahead and share my thoughts. When it comes to re-releases of games, for me, it is going to be how many utils will I get out of it? Now, utils is a term which Google defines as the hypothetical unit of measurement in economics based on satisfaction with the product. So I had first heard this term from a video by The Odd Ones Out, and in that video, he talks about buying clothes. But essentially, to me, if I'm interested enough in a game, the price isn't really going to be the thing that's my ultimate deciding factor, but the amount of satisfaction I would get from owning it. So we'll take, for example, I guess the Thousand Year Door remake. I was going to get that regardless because that's my favorite game of all time. However, even though I had spoken very highly about Galaxy 1 and 2 being re-released for the Switch, I don't think I would get as many utils from buying it because I already own Galaxy and Galaxy 2 for the Wii, and I have the 3D All-Stars version of Galaxy 1. So if I were to get Galaxy 1 plus 2, I'd really only be buying it for the Galaxy 2 re-release. So I wouldn't have as many utils for buying that. So yeah, like I said, I don't really get hung up on a whole lot of, or I don't really get hung up on the prices, but I know it matters a great deal to some people. So I'm curious to see how everybody feels in the comments.
Yeah, I know it's not really a remake, but I did talk about this beforehand. Mario Kart World. It's not a remake, it's just a new creation where you drive to your next destination, you don't just load up there. It being $80... Excuse me? Yeah, I think this got a lot of shade because it really just came to gamers' attention that it was mainly $60. If it was a bundle, I'm pretty sure it would have been $80 if you just got the Switch 2 like right off the bat. But no, the game itself was $80. not really acceptable to me because it is out of everybody's price range. Everyone that I've spoken to specifically was out of everybody's price range. That's kind of where I draw the line in most circumstances. Yeah, it's not a remake, but man, I think that could have been, tweaked.
Yeah, I mean, that's a line that everybody has to decide where they're going to draw. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how everybody feels about that. But I think that's all I have for this time.
All right, that wraps up our Halloween plans and remakes. We concluded some unfinished business from the first segment of this episode. I think, yeah, this one was stellar. Pretty good, despite our, disconnection issue that we had a little bit ago. But it turned out pretty peak, because I had more to say, I had more to add on to things, including the things that Mega didn't really have much knowledge on, and he gave me that information that I didn't have much knowledge on, too. We concluded a lot, quite a bit. It was comfortable, it was informative, and a lot has happened between today and the last upload of this episode. We got a lot to look forward to, definitely. So, for those who enjoyed, awesome. And it's going to be an interesting holiday season. And yeah, for those who also haven't noticed, Mega has a new mic. He is not using a headset. Not saying that a headset is bad.
No, I'm very pleased with this mic. I was happy to finally upgrade. So thank you for giving me the first chance to actually test it out here. And maybe you'll hear it in future projects. The 1,000-Year Door, hopefully, whenever I can finally stream that. But yeah, look forward to that. And if I can also do another shameless plug, on my collab channel, the Gamers Garage, we are also going to be releasing our new collab of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge in the next couple weeks.
Awesome saucy. All right. Great. Stay tuned. Subscribe, like, comment, or anything else. And peace out, everyone.